Hey everyone, we are here in Houston, Texas at Yellow Rose Distillery, conspicuously located in a business complex off Old Post Oak Road here in Houston. And if you look around, you don't really think you'd find a distillery here. It doesn't have that kind of typical, industrial look to it, old plant type look or anything like that. So, let's go ahead, let's check it out, and let's see what Jason has for us inside. Everybody, welcome to Whiskey-Rut. We got a special episode for you guys today. We are here at Yellow Rose Distillery in Houston, Texas, and we are with Jason. Thank you so much, man, for having us. We truly appreciate it. Remind me, what's your title again?
Brand champion.
Brand champion. Greatest title in the world.
Already a winner.
Yeah.
Straight to the top.
Yeah. Hey man, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about Yellow Rose, how you got established, name, those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the name Yellow Rose itself, that's actually based on a Texas legend, and that legend revolves around a woman named Emily West. She was integral in helping to win the Battle of San Jacinto way back in 1836. General Sam Houston actually gave her the credit. After that battle, great nation of Texas was born. Yeehaw. And then, of course, all the stories of Emily West got the nickname the Yellow Rose of Texas. So there were songs and statues and hotels named after her.
Of what she did.
Yes, her integral help during the Battle of San Jacinto. I'll leave the rest for you to discover on your own.
Your own expert, people. Don't be lazy.
Exactly. So it was our original founders took inspiration from that story way back in 2009, and they had never distilled whiskey before, done anything like this, and they said, let's throw our hat into the ring. Let's make whiskey here in Texas. How hard could it be?
Yeah.
A little bit harder than they anticipated.
Yeah,
but
probably.
We officially got started in 2010. We had one product, that was the Outlaw Bourbon here. We started straight at the top for one of the harder spirits to distill and be successful at.
Yeah.
It really took off. In about 2 years, we exceeded that location, and that's where we are here today, right here in Houston.
Awesome.
2013, Houston's oldest legal distillery.
Yeah.
And coming up on 8 years.
Sweet, man. Well, if you don't mind, if we could pour some of these, and if you want to talk about them a little bit.
Absolutely.
Walk us through the lineup.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we're going to start here with the Premium American Whiskey. Now, this is a blended whiskey. It's a blend of 4 different types of whiskey. Okay. It's got some unaged, corn, bourbon, and light whiskey in it. So one thing that's important to note about our Premium American Whiskey is that there's no GNS in it. GNS stands for grain neutral spirits. Those are like your vodkas and your gins.
Yep.
A lot of distilleries like to have this into their blended whiskey, like say it keeps their costs down, pass the savings on to you, the consumer.
So thoughtful.
Exactly, right?
So thoughtful.
But I guarantee if you had a plastic handle, bottom shelf whiskey, you felt those savings in there. All right? Mainly because the GNS has a higher concentration of methanol. And that's the primary contributor to real nasty hangovers the next day.
Got it.
So this right here is a true 100% whiskey blend, coming in at 80 proof, 40% alcohol. Nice, light, easy drinking. The nose right there, it's got some bananas, some caramel on there. And this is like a good, everyday kind of whiskey, You just want to sit back, have a little whiskey Coke. Me personally, I've been pouring it into my coffee for the past year. Call it quarantine coffee.
Quarantine coffee.
Very popular around my house.
Strike again.
That's great, man. So, this is one of the first ones that we reviewed, and you actually commented on Facebook. This is how this whole thing got set up. This is great, man. I never noticed the bananas.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It's like, I imagine it's almost like you're caramelizing some sugar or something like that, making like bananas Foster. Yeah, exactly. Cheers, gents.
Cheers. So when I get this one, I get like a buttery, creamy kind of taste, which is, it's so, you don't think of that with whiskey. It's really good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it really resonates with people too, because it's not only a great introduction to the Yellow Rose portfolio to give you an idea of the quality of whiskeys that we produce, but it's also a very safe place to start. If you consider yourself like a whiskey novice, you're getting into whiskey for the first time, you're not going to go wrong starting here. We're going to be moving on to our rye whiskey next. Now, the rye whiskey that we have here at Yellow Rose, this is a blended rye, blend of 3 and 1 year old rye, made from the same mash bill, 95% rye, 5% malted barley. Now, we do receive the barrels in. but we let it sit in our warehouse for about 6 months, let it pick up some additional aging here in our Houston climate, and then from there it's a hand-selected process between the old and the young rye to get the overall flavor profile here.
Awesome.
Now, rye whiskey itself tends to be a fairly divisive category, right? People love rye or they hate rye.
Yeah.
Mainly because of just that rye spice. You know, some people attribute that to maybe like a cinnamon, a red hot, a heavy-handed black pepper. Some people just can't palate that. I understand that. I mean, I consider myself much more of a bourbon man, but our rye is a little bit different, a little bit softer, a little bit more subtle, not nearly as intense on that rye spice, but still a lot of great aromas on the nose and on the palate as well. Cedars. Yeah. Maybe some brown sugar, maple syrup, but my favorite aspect is that mint right at the very end.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to detect, but it's definitely there. My absolute favorite.
Yeah.
Clears the sinuses.
Yeah.
A little bit. At 90 proof, it might do a little bit for you.
You're right, though. Yeah, most ryes are like a punch in the face. This is like a gentle caress. You know?
Gentle caress.
Gentle
of the
caress.
face. I like how you caressed
The caress.
your own.
The caress of the
I
grain.
know the kind of caress I want. Okay?
And only he will know that. So, yeah, I mean, you can have this neater on the rocks. Perfectly fine way to have it. But classic cocktails, that's where it really shines. Because it's going to work harmoniously with the other components of that cocktail. It's not going to mask any one particular flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you gone to a bar and you get an old-fashioned with rye, all you can taste is the rye and melted water,
Yep.
right? That's not what I want. I want to taste the bitters,
Yep.
the orange zest, the Luxardo cherry. Plus, I know if they hand it to me and it's got an orange wheel and a maraschino cherry in it, no rye's going to save that. So,
That's really good, man. I like that rye. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, y'all ready for the bourbon?
Let's do the Outlaw.
Yes.
I saved the best for last, you know.
Yes.
Just that kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
guy.
This is what,
Thanks, man. You're so nice.
we came down here for this one.
All right, so this right here is the flagship product for Yellow Rose. This is our grain to glass offering. So from the corn to the finished bottle right here in my hand, every step of the process is done right here in Houston. This is 100% Texas yellow corn bourbon. Pretty unusual mash bill. You know, not very many 100% corn bourbons.
Yeah.
Even fewer 100% Texas yellow corn.
For sure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so this is double pot distilled, very traditional way of making whiskeys. It gives you those big, bold bourbon flavors that are still preserved. You don't lose those in the column.
Yeah.
And about 18 months on average, coming out of 15, 30-gallon barrels, through a grade 4 char, American white oak, all that good stuff. But the most important thing is the climate. You know, and here in Houston, it's hot. It's humid. Y'all came on a good day.
That is great.
I know. It's like I feel like I'm feeding you a bag of lies here. I'm like, it's really hot most of the time. But our climate here is just much different than, you know, Tennessee, Kentucky, or Scotland. Our barrels are much more active. Whiskey's constantly flowing in and flowing out at a much higher rate. So it does affect our angel share, but we get a much more concentrated, robust flavor profile in that shorter amount of time. So
How about Texas? In your face. Big and bold. I do have a comment on big and bold. So we were driving down here, and like I've never seen a bigger flag. There was an American flag and then a Texas flag. Massive.
Yes.
Like football stadium size flags. Never seen it in my life.
So you know that old adage of everything's bigger in Texas, right? Yeah. Well, I think you just experienced that for yourself.
That's true.
Right.
That's
Not
true.
only in the whiskey, but in the flags.
Tell us a little about why you call it Outlaw Bourbon.
That's a great question. And really, when we first got started back in 2010, this product right here breaks a lot of those traditional bourbon norms, right? Traditionally, bourbon's a combination of corn, rye, and malted barley, right? There's 100% corn. Unheard of. Couldn't be done, right? And when we first got started, we were using 3-gallon barrels, little tiny suckers, you know?
Right.
Imagine working with hundreds of these things like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, all the big boys up in Kentucky tried it, and they said you cannot use these size barrels for making bourbon. They just won't work. And then they came back and said you can't make bourbon in Houston. It's too hot. It won't come out right.
Yeah.
So you know, we kind of really bucked all the trends and the norms. And you're always looking for something distinctly Texan too, right?
That's
so
right.
nothing like a little outlaw.
That's the perfect name. Great name for a great bourbon.
Yeah.
This is,
I
you know,
appreciate that.
just a line of products. Great whiskey. I know that we've reviewed some of these, but these are ones that you just keep drinking because it never gets old. And we want to thank you so much for letting us do this. We appreciate your time, and which is awesome, dude. You watched it, man.
Thanks for joining us here in Houston, Texas. Check out these products. Seriously, good quality whiskey, great price. Why don't you tell us about social media, like where can they find you, where can they learn more about your products?
Exactly. So make sure and check us out at yellowrosedistilling.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Yellow Rose Distilling, if you're looking for cocktail suggestions, We have lots of cool stuff going on there, as well as new product information. Things might be coming out here sooner rather than later, so keep an eye out for that.
Again, if you like the content we're making, please hit the subscribe button. If there's any whiskeys you want us to try, always let us know in the comments below. And as always,
Get that rut.
All right.
Yeehaw.